Hi, and welcome to All the Woo A to Z. We're your hosts, Suzanne
and Mychal, and this is season 2.
Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I have spent the week laying the groundwork for starting my next novel.
And I'm Mychal, and I have been spending more than my fair share of time at the dentist office. And this is
All the Woo A to Z.
And we are doing C for...
Okay, y'all, this really will be woo. We promise.
We
but
promise.
Initially, it's not going to sound like woo. It's going to sound like an
What?
excuse for Mychal to talk about her last week.
This
But
is true.
It is C for...
Cavities. Basically teeth. Teeth. There we go. Yeah.
So, really, this will be woo.
It will be woo. All right. That being said, so welcome to our real table, our non-judgmental zone where we share our own understandings and perspectives and experiences on these topics and hope that at the very least you are entertained. So, yeah.
So what are we drinking to rot our teeth out as we talk about teeth?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. There's not going to be a good way to put this in an awesome light. Other than that, it's just delicious. So that's the good part.
Sugary deliciousness.
I'm going to put a caveat on the back end of this. So the wine is Dr. Loosen's Riesling Ice Wein. So it's their dessert styled Riesling that they do. And I'm picking this. It's coming from the Mosel area of Germany. So it's a German ice wine, which is just fun to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes my mouth
so much fun to drink.
Oh, yeah. It's making my mouth water talking about it right now. But so, yes, Riesling notably has very, very high acidity, which check, not so great for your teeth. Also, ice wine in its dessert form has more residual sugar remaining in the wine too. So then you get that it's just like a perfect little cozy nook for cavities to form. However, so not great for your teeth, and that's not a great selling point to this wine. But like I said, it is delicious.
It is so delicious. And it's still bitterly cold, so it's perfect.
It is. I actually am going to
make ice wine here.
Tell you a quick little fun fact about ice wine rules to make ice wine, which is why it's becoming harder and harder to come across now because of global warming, is that you have the grapes have to be below freezing for 3 days. And then before you can pick them, like it can never get above that freezing point.
I can hear like a fairy tale in 3 days.
In 3 days' time. Yes. They must be frozen for 3 days solid. And then at that point, when you pick them, it also has to be below freezing. They need to be kept at freezing so that they are also pressed at freezing. So hence you get the super concentrated, right? So not only has it been on the vine longer than it needed to be, it's all that concentrated juice. Yes, all the good mouthwatery stuff. So good. That being said, though, it's becoming harder and harder to come across because people are not able to meet those rules. But so my little caveat to this is enjoy it. On the back end, though, maybe swish with some water when you're done drinking it, or swish with some baking soda solution. That'll make everything right as rain again. So,
C.
Cavities.
C for cavities. Now hang on with us.
I know. You're probably out there being like, what?
Trust us.
Hang in with us for
we have talked this one through. The ways that this is woo are kind of impressive.
Yeah, that's actually true. So just to let you all know where this conversation stemmed from, we're
starting in the real physical world.
Real 3D world here.
Mychal's 3D world, especially.
Yes. I have mentioned in the past that on our podcast.
She's trying to support dentists.
Multiple dentists out there, they're having a rough time trying to help them in their livelihood. Yes. No. Been having some real dental drama. And before, because you all can't see me, I'm going to tell you right now, I have actually a really nice smile before we get into this. I take really good care of my teeth, like super good care of my teeth. The dentist assistants even said,
it's not her fault.
It's not my fault. They're like, you're trying to make the rest of us look bad with like all that I do for my oral hygiene. And even the dentists are like, wow, you should be a dentist. because of my knowledge now on this topic.
She may have been spent the month of January becoming a dental researcher.
Yeah, basically was in a dentist office every single week for the past like 4 weeks or something like that. This is my drama of my life at this moment in time. So there you go. Little window into Michael's world. And especially because I was having all these issues, Suzanne's like, "What does the book say?"
The Secret Lives of Teeth Bible.
Yes. And so, if you all didn't know, well, first of all, from a very 3D, tangible, science based thing, I think a lot of people are aware of the fact that there's a connection between your heart and your teeth,
Mhm.
cardiovascular health and your teeth, right? But in general, as with all things, you are not a silo. And so, your teeth are also not a silo. So, what's going on in there also is connected to other parts of your body. That's more and more becoming apparent.
And oftentimes your teeth will show a symptom for something that is happening to you almost before it happens.
Correct.
They are your canary in your coal mine.
The canary in the coal mine for your body?
Your caries in your coal mine.
I feel like it kinda
Another word for
works.
cavity. So, yes, so Michael's teeth
Yes.
have been reflecting, oh, yeah, your needs a problem.
Mhm.
Yes, what is happening in your mouth is happening in your body, but also what is happening in your mouth is in many ways happening in your life.
Correct. Emotionally, spiritually, whatever, there's that here's the woo component, right? That is not just a physical expression of what's going on, it's also showing you in a very real way other things that need to be addressed, dealt with, things that you are not paying attention to or hiding from.
Hence the term cavity.
Yes.
And very physically, there are meridians in your mouth and meridians in your tongue, and they are connected to all other parts of your body.
Mhm.
And so that whole thing of like, if you're talking bad about yourself or just speaking negatively in general, you truly can activate the meridians in your tongue
Mhm.
to generate a less healthy saliva. And then all of your teeth are just sitting in there, kind of in a swamp.
Yeah.
That's not a good swamp.
And that's another connection for a show that we haven't done yet that we will probably do at some point, which is about water. And
Yes,
yeah, Dr.
Emoto.
Emoto. So,
So, but yes, so Michael's teeth.
yes. Are you speaking to my teeth right now or to me or to the audience?
Michael's teeth are revealing to her through whatever is going on,
Mhm.
also what's going on in her life.
Yes.
And I think the thing that we discussed about cavities is by and large they are, well, hidden pockets,
Mhm.
things that you don't see, and you don't usually know there's a problem until there's a problem.
Until there's a problem. Actually, really quickly, this just popped into my head, so I'm going to share it really quick. Another little tandem dream interpretation, so that you know, teeth in dream world actually represents how your body is doing physically. So if you're having issues with your teeth, like if your teeth are falling out in your dream or something like that, then it normally means that your body itself is not being taken care of very well or that there's a problem
Mhm.
physically. So just FYI there, a little woo connection also supporting the your teeth are not a silo. But getting off of teeth,
Your
but
teeth are a mirror. Yeah.
yeah, the wider idea of cavity, I think that this idea holds true in a lot of different ways, right?
Mhm.
First of all, mouth being a cavity. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people don't often talk about what's going on in their mouth dental wise because I mean, first of all, I don't know that it's anybody else's business. Some
Mhm.
you might have that
Yeah.
idea. But I think also just in general, I think for some people there's some little element of shame.
Oh,
Like if
absolutely.
you have a cavity or if you have bad
Bad breath.
breath or if your teeth are crooked or they're not as pretty as you think they should be or any number of reasons why.
Yeah. So I think there's that component of shame, but I also think that that translates to a lot of things that we keep in cavities, like financial
Mhm.
issues and, just some of the phases of life, like we were talking about how menopause
Mhm.
only in the past couple of years has been something that anybody's talked about to any extent.
As it even being a thing that needs to be addressed that you need to know
Right,
about. Yeah.
right. Like it even, exists.
Yeah.
And, marital problems and relationship problems in general, just all of those things that I think oftentimes, well, I won't say I will say in my own life, I have buried
Mhm.
things and just was like, la, 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 la,
Yeah,
la.
I think there's something to be said that there's a difference between, not airing your dirty laundry and just sticking your head in the sand and pretending like something doesn't exist at the same time.
Right. As a person who's very good at pretending things don't exist,
Mhm.
I would say I was that example. And there have been things that, I woke up one morning and it was like, oh, there's rot in that situation that needs to be handled or dealt with.
Mhm.
And then the cascade of shame from not having dealt with it.
Right. And one could be, yeah, true cavities. Like if you haven't dealt with your we're using this 3D example, but it's a very good example of
Mm-hmm.
like what's going on in people's lives. And I think that oftentimes if you think that sometimes thinking can act like a cavity, right? At first,
Mm-hmm.
how a cavity operates, in case you don't know. It's bacteria, whatever, eats through your enamel, gets through the hard part on the outside, and then gets to the dentin on the inside and goes crazy, right? And it's hard to root out once it gets to that point.
Right.
Like that's the point that you don't want it to get to because it can be really difficult to deal with, and then it's something that's legit. However, I think sometimes that's how cycles of thinking
Mm-hmm.
can get to, like once you get into a bad frame of thought or thinking and go down that path, once you allow it to happen, it can be really hard to stop that
Mm-hmm.
that
Progression.
cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, right?
Yeah, I think you were mentioning addiction kind of
Correct.
follows that pattern of the deeper you get, the deeper you are, the harder it is to get out kind of thing.
Exactly.
So so we've discussed the problem. What are some ways out of cavities?
Well, you can go to the dentist. That could be one thing that you can do. You can get the teeth book and look at it that way. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, yes, you can do those things for real.
No,
But
absolutely. And I think the other thing is that when something is going wrong, part of the responsibility as someone who lives in a connected universe in a woo world, if you
mhm,
will, is going, oh, so this could be happening on multiple levels.
right.
Like I need to check all of my assorted
Yeah, which definitely goes into that
boxes.
whole thing of like quantum healing that we've
Hmm.
discussed before, right? That typically a physical ailment is something that can also be seen on all different levels. But I think it doesn't always have to show up necessarily as a first physical thing. It can be an
Hmm.
emotional thing too. But to make another analogy, there we go. In one of my many conversations with the dental assistants in these past few weeks have been we're just airing out personal grievances.
Hmm.
And I was like, my personal grievances is I get very irritated with people who have amazing teeth, have nothing wrong with their teeth, and also admittedly don't even take really good care of their teeth. Like they
Hmm.
don't go to the dentist really hardly ever, and they don't really brush their
They're
teeth that
like Nepo
often.
baby teeth.
Yes. Like somehow they're made of titanium teeth. I have no idea what's going on there. Like that's frustrating for me as somebody who does all the things that you're supposed to do and then some and like still has issues, right? And from their perspective, I was just saying, like, I feel like a failure. Like, as far we're getting into the therapy portion of the show right now, but it's like I feel like a failure. The fact that I've done all these things, right? And from their perspective, this is how the transition came. They're like, well, no, because you shouldn't. Why I should not feel that way is that I actually don't just come and deal with the problem. Like, not only am I taking active steps to take care of what's going on, but when I'm told that there is an issue, I don't wait and pretend like it's not a problem and just hope that it's going to heal itself and walk away from it. And
Hmm.
instead, I actually go and I get it taken care of, whether or not I feel like it's a painful situation or not.
Hmm.
So, what was stated is that so many people, well, I don't know how many people. Some people, let's just put it as general. Some people, when they're told that they have a dental
Hmm.
issue, right, that they're like, well, it hurt, but now it doesn't hurt anymore.
Hmm.
And they told me that I needed this whatever work
Yeah.
done. And because it doesn't hurt anymore, I'm going to assume that it's not a problem anymore. So I'm
Mhm.
not going to get it taken care of. When in fact, it was just going undercover and
Mhm.
like and now you're going to have to do something more to take care of the problem. I think that that's very true in life in general, right?
Mhm.
And just dealing with all those things that are unseen, that
Mhm.
just because somebody else can't see it, just because you can't see it as clearly, doesn't mean that it's not there
Growing.
growing and causing problems,
Mhm.
right? It is probably going to create bigger problems on the back end the longer you try to ignore it.
Dental floss and time saves 9.
Sorry, we're making this so much about teeth, but it really does work on a lot of different levels. So there we go. And also, I'm just fresh out of the dentist today. So you're getting all of it.
So, some of the things that we can do are for actual teeth. Michael has found a test that
Yeah, that's
will
true.
it's a saliva test
Yeah.
and can tell you amazing and wonderful things. I don't know why this isn't the first test that every doctor gives us.
Every dentist does to kind of see what's going on. Like, is your teeth problem, genetic, or because there's so many different reasons why you could have
Yeah.
decay in your mouth. But yeah.
So we will put that in the link. I think another thing that we can do is just, that whole thing of walk towards what you're afraid of. Like if you are afraid of going to the doctor for XYZ or
Hmm.
actually looking at what the, balance in your checkbook is, or having the foundation people out to see if you have a giant cavitation in your living room or,
Hmm. I hope that's
plumbing
not the case.
issues
Yeah.
or any of these other things that it is a nudge from the universe that wants you to be safe and wants you to be healthy and wants you to be happy to handle a situation. And so if you will go towards what you're afraid of,
Hmm.
and I would say probably, you know, walking in and signing up for $10,000 worth of dental surgery is not the plan, but
Not my
a small
recommendation.
a small step.
Yes.
So yeah, that would be maybe one of the first steps towards walking into solving your cavity problem, whatever it may be.
And you can do that in a fun way. I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast, but if not, I'm going to say it right now. And if I've already said, sorry, here we go again. Whenever I go on vacation now, I try to make it a thing that I include at least one thing that I'm afraid of,
Mhm.
either that I've not done or that I have a fear of. And I say have not done because I may not know if I have a fear, but a lot of other people have a fear around it. So I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe once I'm in it, I'll also find it scary. Could be. On the outside, I don't think so. But I will also just plan in something that I have a fear around so that I'm actively
Facing it.
facing it and trying to, yeah, because from my own personal experience, I've never found that it's been really good to ignore those things.
Mhm.
And also, I don't want to live a life of fear.
Mhm.
I don't want to live confined in a prison of
Mhm.
fear,
Mhm.
right? And so I've found the only way to actually deal with it is to really just deal with it,
Mhm.
whatever it may be. And that could be an emotional fear, that could be,
And I think the emotional fears are the hardest.
oh yeah, no, absolutely.
It's way easier to be physically bold than it is to be emotionally bold,
Oh, yes.
which is
But I've done that too with like asking somebody out on a date before. Like normally it's not the girl who asks out the
Mhm.
guy, right? So there's that. And I remember one person was like, I was kind of hoping that they would pick up the hints, pick up the hints. They did not ever pick up the hints. They were not very good at that. And so eventually I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask him. I'm gonna ask him out. And if he's not interested, well then okay, so what?
Right.
So what? Okay. And if he is, great. At least now I know I'm not in this like limbo land of being afraid or tiptoeing or wondering if and all the things. And I finally just got over my fear one day when there was nobody else around, took a deep breath. I'm like, so yeah. And went from there. And it was exceptionally liberating. Like once I got to the other side.
I did a crazy thing in college. There was a guy in my 300 person intro to media class,
Hmm.
and I had a dance coming up. I think it was called something else with my sorority, and I had no date. And he was just really cute. And so I wrote an elaborate paper
Yeah.
invitation walked by him, dropped it in his lap,
Mhm.
went down. I was sitting in the front row because I'm that kind of nerd.
Was it
Um,
check yes or no,
I
or
don't remember what the details were, but he absolutely came with me.
Oh, nice.
And he was gorgeous and we had fun. And what I learned from that is that I could ask guys out for these parties
Yeah, you can.
in this sort of fashion.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, for like 2 years in college, I think that was how I had a date for every mixer is some cute guy. And I would just come up with a beautiful handwritten invitation and a gorgeous dress. And I didn't want anything from them other than just their company
Company? Mhm.
for one night.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And granted, you all might be out there being like, my problems are a lot bigger than this. And yes, we're taking very easy things to kind of like give as examples. And I think I'm going to speak for both of us on this that we have both dealt with much deeper, darker, more difficult versions of these kinds of things. And yes, it's not easy. And to make the decision to deal with it is also not easy.
But one of the things you can do, and this is a little bit of a past story from my past.
Mhm.
There was a time where I did not go to the dentist for a very long time
Yeah.
for reasons that felt very much out of my control. And by the time I went, it was because I knew there was a problem in my mouth.
Hmm.
And the person who was my dental hygienist and who I was madly loyal to for years after that
Hmm.
was so kind and so sweet and all of the things because I mean I had gone to the dentist my whole life. I was
Yeah. You were not that person. That wasn't your identity of being the person who doesn't go to
right.
the
I
dentist.
brush my teeth. Other than you, I'm about the only person I know who enjoys flossing. Like
I mean, I didn't say that I enjoy flossing. I do it regularly.
so all of these things and I was so embarrassed and I was there probably on a credit card that was already close to maxed out. And this woman was so kind and so sweet. And her birthday was one day ahead of mine. And so all of the fears I had built up
Mhm.
of being judged just melted away.
Yeah.
And I felt safe. And like I said, went for decades.
Mhm.
But that's one of the things that you can ask that whatever it is that you need to face, that there be kindness on the other side.
Yeah.
And and I think that takes some of the sting away because when you don't feel the judgment that you've done on yourself,
Mhm.
you lift it.
Yeah. I'm shaking my head. Shaking my head right now.
Nodding your head.
Nodding my head. Yes.
As she's sitting here in her Stranger Things pom-pom hat.
Which was a Christmas present from Suzanne. And
underneath her headphones.
it's true. It is still very cold. It's still very cold. No, I was just thinking about the judgment thing because we've talked about this individually. Taking it back to the whole dentist thing. Sorry, but it's just such a good reference here. But since I have not told you all the routine of my teeth, but it is extreme. I go
It's 7 steps.
Yeah,
Like
I go
not even a joke.
way far beyond what any dentist would ask you to do.
And different in the morning and the evening.
Correct.
Like she covers
all the bases to make sure that we're not missing anything. And so, anyway, and I still go into the dentist, and because of how much work I've had done on my teeth, I feel like, especially if it's a new dentist who doesn't know me, I end up feeling like I'm judged because they're just looking at, oh, well, obviously.
They're just looking at the results.
Correct, right?
Without context.
Correct. And not until they actually get in there and look that they're like, oh, well, then they start to see, oh, well, it's not your oral hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start look at the other reasons why I might potentially have problems.
Which is why I'm very excited about the saliva test.
I know. I'm very excited about the saliva test. Why did we not know before? I learned this literally today. I'm waiting for my results to come in a couple of weeks to kind of figure out, what is the problem? What am I battling here? And is there a better way of going about it than how I'm doing it?
Yeah.
But which, knowledge is power. There we go. But all this to say, I know this is not trying to make this a platform of Mychal complaining about her teeth and how many times she's been to the dentist regularly, but there is a real correlation, not only if you want to just look at it on the surface level of there is a woo-woo element to what's going on in your mouth and what's going on with your body and what's going on with you emotionally and what's going on with you spiritually. Yes, that there is that
And what's going
correlation.
on in your
Yeah,
life.
that's very woo, right? But then there's that other thing of like, what do cavities actually represent outside of your mouth, and how we deal with that? And that's kind of a broader topic. It just works really well in the context of teeth.
And the book says that cavities represent the things that we have hidden, abandoned, or ashamed of.
Mhm.
So there you go.
So on that bombshell, we're going to pick our next letter.
Which is N.
N as in Nancy. Okay. So we'll see you next time on All the Woo.
A to Z.